My guest for today is a salon industry educator, motivational speaker, author, and creator of the Clipper Guy Care product line. He has won 3 Guinness World Records for haircutting. My guest for today is Ivan Zoot. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. I've heard so many great things about you, and also this winning the three different Guinness World Records. I mean, that's pretty outstanding.
That was a lot of fun. It's turning into a long time ago, kind of. They were charity events and publicity stunts for my salon and associated with some of my business and marketing partners, but they were a whole lot of fun, and I've been able to leverage them for a lot of opportunities throughout the career and use them as really great examples for inspiring and motivating other professionals. So yeah. It's been great.
I love that. And that's so important, right? In our position to be able to motivate and inspire. So I'm so glad that you do that.
Yeah, I broke the records in '98. I broke them again exactly 10 years later to the day in 2008.
Wow.
2018, 10 years later, we just had a party to celebrate because I'm never doing this again. Yeah. It's time for a young person who's inspired by these things to take my story and my system, enhance upon it, improve it, put their own unique touch to it, and go break my records. Records are made to be broken, and I will help, I will coach, and I will celebrate with them when they do it.
Oh, wow. That's pretty amazing. So, Ivan, where are you from originally?
I live just in the northwest suburbs of the city of Chicago. I grew up in the city, and we live in the suburbs now, and I've been here my whole life.
So what did your mom and dad do for a living?
My dad was a dentist and a university professor. He taught dental school for 40 years. So he has an education background. And my mom had like half a dozen master's degrees in a variety of things, all related to the healthcare industry. And she was in health professionals education, essentially, just like beauty and barber education. She was working in the industry of providing continuing education to medical professionals. So wow. I have an interesting career connection because my mom was in continuing education, and because barbers used to pull teeth and my dad was a dentist,
yeah,
almost claims second generation status.
Right. Yeah.
Weird way.
Yeah, definitely. So how old were you when you realized that you actually wanted to start doing hair?
It's an odd question because I don't know if I ever wanted to start doing hair. Graduated from high school. I went to college. I got a job. I was working in an entirely different industry. And I had a customer who was buying some things from me through a sales job, who owned a very large sort of, I would say mid-level by today's standards, little spa salon, maybe 15 chairs, not a castle, but a reasonably good place. And I got to know him as a customer, and I'm looking at his business in the industry, and I'm going, wow. I go, there's an incredible amount of opportunity here. And at the time, I had a sales job that was, while very financially lucrative, I hated that job. I hated everything about it. But I liked sales, and I was good at it. And I looked at the beauty industry, and I said, this is sales. Now, I spent most of my youth under a car with a wrench, and I said, it's not that much different from a wrench. It's a scissors. It's working with your hands, and it's sales, and it's people. And I still say this today to many people in the beauty industry. I say, if you got into the haircut business because you think the haircut business is the business of doing haircuts, you are in the wrong business. The haircut business is the business of building and maintaining relationships with humans.
Yeah.
If you truly understand that, the haircutting is secondary and incidental. But I looked at the business and I said, at the time, I wanted to be in the automobile industry. And at the time, of course, the Japanese were running all over the Americans in the automobile industry. It wasn't a good place to go. And I didn't like my current sales job. And I said, this is never going away. This is never going to be exported to Southeast Asia. This is a cool business. I can make money. It's sales, and it's got a little bit of working with your hands. I can do this. And I literally the following day went and toured a beauty school and wrote a check and signed up for beauty school. And you got to keep in mind, the day that I signed up for beauty school was the first day that I had ever uttered the words beauty school in my entire life. And my fiance, who's now my wife after 32 years of marriage, she said, what? And my parents said, what? And my in-laws, my father-in-law said, hey, we should open a business. And ultimately that's something that we did. But it was a surprise to me. It was a surprise to the family. And it's still kind of surprising how it's sort of teasing out over the years.
Yeah, how it all played out. Yeah, wow, that's so interesting.
It's still playing.
Yeah, there's nobody else whose story that I've covered with this podcast that's quite like yours. Most people kind of have an inkling where they know that they want to do it at some point in their life, and with you, it was sort of a business move, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I was asked this recently in another conversation about mentors and inspiration, and the funny thing is, one of my greatest mentors in the industry was my first boss, who owned what was arguably the largest day spa salon in our community for many, many years. He had been very successful for a long time with a very large salon. And I had worked there in school. I was a shampoo girl. I was folding towels and sweeping floors and rinsing other people's color. And I was participating in Tuesday night model night as a junior rookie, like so many of us do. And he and I used to argue. I mean, almost screaming and yelling every single week, because absolutely everything he'd ever done in his career I disagreed with. And absolutely every idea that I have ever had about the beauty industry is exactly the opposite of what he ever would have done.
Yeah.
One of the exciting and cool things, I learned so much from that, but one of the things I've learned by examining that sort of experience over the years is that we were both right. And there's room in the business for both of us. And there's opportunity in the business for both of us. And I guess the bottom line is there's more than one way to skin a client.
Yeah.
He was a huge influence in that way. But I've always looked at the business differently than other people.
Yeah, which is a great thing. And like you're saying, there's so many different avenues, there's so many different directions that we can go into. And so you're such a great leader and example of that, because there's so many things. I mean, even to be an author, tell us a little bit about your book. I know that you have a pretty outstanding book that I hear a lot about.
Well, I've published 10. Book number 11 comes out later this year. The book most people are aware of, this one's been out about 2 years. This is the $100,000 Hair Cutter. And essentially, this is a significant download of my brain. This is one idea a day, every single day for 365 days to build and grow your business as a hair cutter. It's a daily devotional. You literally keep it on your night table. You wake up in the morning, you turn to today, and you read today.
Wow.
Up your tennies, out the door you go. And the book is technical hair cutting, but it's advertising, promotion, marketing, hiring, training, management, shop culture. It's everything you can imagine. There's 52 weeks, 365 days, plus a bonus week, 53rd week in my year because I have more time than everybody else. And then there's 4 bonus chapters of monthly focused topics. Amazon, of course, my website, of course, paper, digital, and audio, all 3 formats, depending on how you want to consume that information. But it started out as a blog post, then it morphed into a class, and then like a whole lot of people, one day I went, I could write a book. And I had already written a few small ones that are still out there in one form or another, but I won't call this my magnum opus, because this year we introduced this one. And this is one that I'm really excited about, especially now. I didn't plan for coronavirus. I didn't plan for an industry shutdown of this magnitude. Nobody could have thought of it. This is 100 new haircut customers in 100 days guaranteed. And it's a step-by-step, day-by-day plan, exclusively hyper-focused on building new business. And for so many of us in this industry, like it or not, I was listening to some TV today and I heard a guy say, it was a minister on TV, and he said, rather than focusing on this lockout as a time of separation, focus on this lockout as an opportunity of preparation.
Yes.
We can use this as the springboard and the launching point to what's next. And for many of us, I really believe whatever's next can be better than whatever we had before. It's going to be different.
Yes.
But it can be better. So the notion that this is, and I've referred to this online, and I've caught a little heat for it because I think there are some people that are offended by this statement, but it's okay because I've never really had a problem offending folks. This situation in many ways is what I'm calling the grand reset of the beauty industry. We've had some troubles. I think we have too many haircutters. I think we have too many salons. I think our prices are too low. I think we have never been really good at suggesting, recommending professional take-home hair care product. And these are all things that are going to be very different in the coming new normal of our industry.
Yeah.
I think that's all really good. So I think this book really plays into that conversation of not separation, but preparation, and really an eye towards what is going to be my new normal, different, and better.
Yeah.
So that's that story.
Yeah. So what types of things, kind of bouncing off that a little bit, what types of things inspire you and inspire your work? Because I know that you seem very business oriented, which is excellent, because a lot of us in the industry are not, right? Like our passion comes first and then we figure out the business afterwards. So you're such a great asset. But what types of things inspire you with hair or within your business?
Well, first and foremost, I've always had an incredible amount of connection to the school industry. Originally I was a student. Later I was doing a lot of education. There was a time when I was very involved in the school association in the United States. And even now in lockdown, I'm doing a huge number of online webinar programs for schools that are scrambling for online education. So I love the young and the new and the fresh. I love people coming into our industry who either never heard of how we always did it, or who just don't care how we always did it. And, that's cool. And I'm okay with it. I believe in best practices. I have a book that I wrote, one of them still available, on barbershop and hair salon best practices. And when I talk about that book with people, I always talk about the fact that this is kind of like the baseline and the benchmark. But if this is all you do, you're kind of limiting yourself. So in direct answer to your question, number one, young people, new people in our business inspire me. The other thing that drives and motivates me is, I guess you could say I'm obsessed with legacy. I'm at an age where, for all reasonable calculations, I've crossed the midpoint. I have less life left than I've already had. Sorry, like it or not, it is what it is. So I'm kind of looking long lens at, how do we put a bow on this when we're done? And to that extent, because, I always jokingly say, I've been doing hair shows for 30 years. I'm the first guy on the floor in the morning. I'm the last guy off the floor at night. I'm shaking hands. I'm posing for pictures. I'm educating in classrooms. But there's going to come a day when I'll be gone. I'll retire. I'll move on to something else. And somebody's going to be at a hair show and say, hey, do you remember Ivan? And somebody's going to go, yeah, I remember Ivan. Whatever happened to him? He must be dead. And they're going to Google me, and I'm still going to be alive. I'll moved on to something else. And at that point, I'm kind of obsessed with the idea of, what do they remember? And there's one thing I want people to remember long after I'm gone. And that is, I created a holiday. Now, I don't know if you knew it, that you can create a holiday.
I did not know.
Who can create a holiday. I created a holiday. My holiday is July 1. And July 1's holiday is called Raise Your Haircut Prices Day in the USA. I created that holiday about 12 years ago, and I'm obsessed with the idea of teaching the people of our industry, the professionals of our industry, from students on up to people that have been cutting hair for 40 years, when, how, and why to raise their haircut prices. If I can be successful in that endeavor, Ivan's taught people how to cut a flat top, and Ivan's taught people how to taper hair, and Ivan's taught people how to use wax and gel. But I can change more lives in more ways by creating a legacy of helping our industry charge more money, because we've been so bad at it. I think it's arguably, you could say that haircuts today are cheaper than they've ever been at any time in the history of America. Relative to the cost of everything else and the cost of living, everything goes up and we don't. And when we have to go up, we apologize. We put little signs on our mirrors begging people to understand.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
That's one of the things that really drives me, is this mission to see to it. And thank you very much for helping me, because your program, this program will reach ears that I have not reached yet.
Yeah.
In some cases, if somebody will hear this from me, maybe for the 48th time.
Yeah.
It might take 49 times for it to catch, but
Yeah.
that's the mission.
You know, but that's, like I said, you know, the thing is, because we are more passion driven, we need people like you to be able to kind of show us the business and kick us into gear a little bit. And so I agree with that completely. I think having both sides of the conversation is so very important. And that's why you're such a great guest. And I'm just so glad that you're here motivating us and really giving us that kick in the butt to move forward and start, especially after this crisis and pandemic, if you will. You know, what are your thoughts on that? Because people are coming out of this with no jobs, and then, you know, they get right back into, we're in high demand. So obviously we can charge more, but.
I got a hashtag, when we go back, we go up.
Yeah.
When we go back, we have to go up because our costs will have gone up. If you have to spend 10 cents on any form of PPE, your haircut price has to go up. And I had a conversation the other day. I got a buddy out east. He owns 5 barbershops and a school. And he called me up and he's grappling with the price increase, and his state's getting ready to open up. And he's looking at all the, you know, I have a strong, long-time association with Barbicide. Barbicide produced what they call their back to work plan and their reopening recommendations documents. By the way, those are free downloads off my Instagram account or barbicide.com. So he's grappling with all this, and he says to me, he goes, I need your help. So what do you need? He said, I need scripting. I need work, and I'm a big believer in scripting our behavior in the salon, having answers, sentences, and dialogue ready. Don't let these questions be a surprise. And he was right on the ball with this. He said, what do I say to a client when they ask why the haircut price went up? Because to your point, people are unemployed. This is not going to be a recession. This probably will be able, in hindsight, to be labeled a depression by the time we're through this. So he says, I need dialogue. What do you say to a guy who says, why is the haircut price going up? And I said to him, I said, I got dialogue for you. Get a pencil, write this down. I want you to write this down so you can get it exact and word for word. When you raise the price and a customer asks the question, why is the haircut price going up? This is your dialogue. Quote, dude, are you kidding me? That's it.
Yeah.
Dude, are you kidding me? Why do we have to say anything else? You want a haircut? Let's go.
Yeah. It's hard, you know, because we have such relationships, and that's really what it is you have that relationship with people. But, you know, I get it. And it is business, and it does come down to that. It does come down to business, and that's exactly what it is. So I kind of take a tough love perspective on the objection about relationship. And I'll tell you a little story that I use to illustrate this, because sometimes people will say, yeah, but you know, we're friends with these people and I have a relationship with these people. And my answer is no, you don't. This is a business. And the way you know this is we've all been in a salon and we've all had a coworker who is very excited about doing a bride's hair for the bride's wedding. And this is her friend, and you know she's grappling with how much to charge, and do I charge for the practice with the headpiece, and do I go to the hotel to do the hair, and how much do I charge for that? And you know, and she's so excited because her friend is getting married, her friend is getting married, her friend is getting married. And I have to kind of be the voice of reason. I'm Jiminy Cricket on the shoulder when I say to this girl, she's not your friend. And do you know that? The answer is the reasons you know she's not your friend is if she was your friend, you would not be doing her hair for her wedding. You would be doing your hair for her wedding because you wouldn't be a service provider. You'd be on the guest list. Yeah.
And that's a real hard, cold reality sometimes for a lot of beauty professionals, but it really is the kind of splash of ice water that people sometimes need going, you know, if I was her friend, I wouldn't be a servant, I would be a guest. And it's a very different way. We are service professionals. We deliver a service for a fee.
Yeah.
Do Now, yes, we're there. We hold their hand when they get divorced, and when they cry on our shoulder when their child has a baby, and we look at the pictures, and we're a part of their life, and literally we're a part of everything from birth to death.
Yeah.
But we are business people delivering a service for a fee, and I think that needs to be kept at the forefront.
Yeah. So I guess one of the main questions that I always love to ask my guests, and I'm so curious to hear your answer, is what is success to you?
Simple question. And the answer is, I think you have to measure it a number of ways. There's no question that someone that has some of the drive and motivation that I have is going to measure success at one level with a calculator. There are some numbers there. There is a 1040, and there's a bottom line number there that is a reflection of reward for effort. And I would be lying to you when I'm looking at you, you know, on camera here. I can't lie to you and tell you that that doesn't matter. But when I really feel successful, to be very honest with you, when I really feel successful, trust me, I feel successful when I look at the 1099. When I look at the 1040. Okay, I'm honest. But I get a greater sense of pride when I get an email from somebody who says, you know, I was scared to death to raise my haircut price. And you know, you were right. I did what you told me to do, and it worked. And I should have done it last year, and I'm going to do it next year. And thank you very much. That's success for me, because it's tied to what I'm working for and what I'm working towards. Now, be honest, if that's my hair cutter, I got to pay her more money, or I got to pay him more money. So I kind of lost when I was winning. But the flip side of it is seeing people really use my information to change their life in that profound and positive way. You know, the other measure of success will be, and I'm hoping they don't make me wait terribly long, a good measure of success for me will be able to skip a hair show to spend the weekend with a grandchild.
Yeah.
Say, I don't have to do that hair show this weekend. That's where the money part comes in. I can skip that hair show because instead my son and his wife can go somewhere, and they can leave the kids at our house, and I can feed that kid candy for breakfast and go out in the yard and get filthy dirty and play with worms and that kind. So that's another real, you know, again, showing my age, that's another real measure of success to me.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, and I agree with that too. I mean, a lot of people will just immediately go to you know, success being doing what they want when they want to do it. And so with you, it's both, right? And that makes total sense with exactly who you are. So my next question for you is the complete opposite, okay? What fears have you had through the industry, and how were you able to overcome them?
What fears have I had throughout the industry? Well, I don't really believe in fear. If you talk to my boys, I have two boys. They're both grown. One's married, one's out of college and working. But fear is not a word we were allowed to use in the house. Honestly, I don't believe in fear. I believe fear is sort of, it doesn't really exist. You create it. It's up here. I've had challenging situations. I mean, if you want to ask me what some of my greatest challenges have been, my single greatest challenge was doing hair. I'd never touched hair before I went to beauty school. I sucked at doing hair for a long time. And I always say this, if there are 100 hairdressers in the room, from a skills standpoint, I'm in the bottom 20% every time. Despite world records, despite a 33-year career, despite the fact that I turned out 40 haircuts a day for years in my shop, despite the fact that I have a popular YouTube channel showing and teaching people how to cut hair, none of that was easy. None of that came naturally. There was no guarantees. You know, that first boss I told you about, one of my favorite quotes from him about me. Now you got to remember, at this point, I've graduated from beauty school. I'm working part-time on the floor. I'm assisting one of his senior hairdressers. I'm participating in model night on Tuesdays. And his quote was, you know, Ivan, your mouth is better than your hands, and that's going to get you in trouble.
That's funny.
And 30 plus years later, I think he was right. My mouth is still better than my hands. So far, I've managed to stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
And hopefully that hearing that can be an inspiration to some of your listeners, because, you know, I went to beauty school with girls who were 22 years old who've been playing with hair since they were 4.
Yeah.
That's very intimidating.
Yeah.
It's scary. You know, God bless them. They're off and running. But there were other people like me in beauty, and I know I've talked to other folks. You know, just the other day, somebody on Instagram asked the question, what was the most difficult part of cutting hair for you? And my answer was cutting hair. The whole thing was a big challenge. So that was an obstacle I overcame. I wouldn't call it a fear, but I think I was very consciously aware of the fact that technically the game at a significant disadvantage.
You know, yeah, and I love that you're saying that, and I love that you're sharing that, because there are so many students who feel that way. And to be honest, I felt that way in beauty school. You know, I would look around and I would think to myself, wow, these people are so much better than me. Why can't I catch up? You know, and eventually I got to the point where I was obsessed with it, and, you know, and things started to come a little bit more naturally. But no, not everybody starts off just being great and being the #1 person in their class or whatever. So,
You know, I can tell you one of my funny stories is I remember where I was the moment that the principle of over direction to a stationary guide creating a length increase. The idea of bringing the hair up to a stationary guide, which would result in the fact that the hair that traveled the farthest remained the longest. You know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
It's hair. I remember I was at a stoplight, sitting in my car in front of the Chevy dealer by the house near where we lived, sitting at the light, and I had screwed up a haircut, and one side was heavier, one side was lighter, the layering was off, and it didn't work. And thinking through what I had done and what my senior stylist who coached me on this stuff, and he was amazing because I would have this just messed up haircut, and he would look at the haircut and he would pick up a comb and he would go, and he would comb up a section. He'd go, that's where you lost the guide. And I'm going, how do you do that?
Yeah.
How did you, what are you doing? You're killing me here. But I remember exactly where I was when it clicked. And I remember that was such a magical moment. And really, in my haircutting education, that was a real transformation. So just a cool story.
That's an
I guess the other comment I would make for your listeners is if they haven't had that moment yet, it'll come. Be confident that you will be sitting at a light. You will be, you know, you'll be on the couch. You know, I mean, I remember I cut somebody's ear once.
Yeah.
You know, I nipped the top of somebody's ear. I closed the scissor up doing scissor over comb. I caught their ear. I cut a little V-shaped notch in their ear. Now, if you've ever cut an ear, you know they bleed forever.
Forever.
If you cut an ear 6 weeks ago, it's still got a Band-Aid on it.
Yes.
I wanted to quit. Now, at this point, I already owned a salon. I just wanted to quit the business. And, you know, I had to have that moment of, everybody's done this. This will be okay. I'll survive. She'll come back. And I cut her hair for years. And it's, you know, it was more traumatic for me than it was for her.
Yeah. I did that. My dad used to let me cut his hair when I was little, like when I was really young. And I cut his ear one time, and I've never cut anybody else's ear. I mean, I was traumatized from it. So yeah, you learn, right? You learn for sure.
Yep. Well, you know, when my older one was in Little League, he was really tentative about when they went from T-ball to pitching. He was really tentative to stand in the box, and he was standing back, and he was kind of afraid to swing. And of course, you know, I'm me. I went up to the coach and I go, can we ask the pitcher to hit him? Can we plunk him? Would it be okay? Because he needs to get hit by a pitch to understand it's not going to kill him. He's going to dust himself off, and then he'll stand in there and swing. And the coach was appalled. The coach thought I was just the worst dad on the bench. I'm like, just hit him with a pitch and we'll get beyond this and we'll move. You know, I'm not telling any, please don't misunderstand. I did not just suggest that anybody cuts anybody's ear.
Right, right.
Please understand what that story was all about. But yeah, that's kind of where I come from.
So Ivan, the last question that I have for you is, what are your daily routines? Are you somebody who gets up early? Do you like to go to the gym? Like, what would a day in your life be like?
Oh my, what do you think? I think you knew the answer before you asked. I don't wake up. and I don't get out of bed. I bounce out of bed. I bounce out of bed very, very early. I work out, now I work out at home. In addition to my barber and cos license, I'm also a certified personal fitness trainer. And I got certified in fitness a number of years back, but I don't work with bodybuilders and marathon runners and muscle builders. I work with beauty and barber professionals on issues of health, wellness, and long-term durability. And I've taught classes on this in the industry, and I try to weave, everything from ergonomics to blocking out a lunch and eating a lunch and not squeezing people in for your mental health. It's physical health, it's financial health, it's mental health, it's all that. I have at times scheduled and taught 5:30 a.m. spin classes. So, 5 people that spin, that do indoor cycle at 5:30 a.m., they're in a unique kind of individuals.
Yes.
Unlike the hair business, you can't really ask people to bring referrals, to send your friends. Hey, you like the class? See if one of your friends will join us for the class. Because anyone who spins at 5:30 in the morning, their friends don't want to come with. Their friends think they're crazy.
Right.
So, yeah, I have an early morning routine. I am that early bird guy. I try to eat better. I have lost 20 pounds during coronavirus lockdown. This hasn't been social distancing for me. This has been French fry distancing that has been very, very effective with my workout routine and everything else. So I've never met a cheeseburger I wasn't really good friends with. I have to try to manage that. And, but yeah, I've got I'm a structured kind of guy, as you could imagine.
Yeah, I would think. You're right. I probably would have guessed that you bounced out of bed. Yes. Well, Ivan, I realize that time is so extremely valuable, and I appreciate you spending your time with me today. And you were so open and honest, and you're going to inspire a lot of people. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I love sharing in the industry in any way I can, and I'm honored that you invited me to join you on your program, to be a part of this. IvanZoot.com is the website. There is a function on my website called Talk to Me. It's a button. If you click that button, you put in your name, your email address, and your questions. And I don't have people. You're going to get an email directly back from me. I try to answer all questions within 24 hours. That's my promise, but I'm usually within 24 minutes, unless I'm on a program or doing something like this. But it's a great way for people to connect directly with me, because my job, in my job description, is help people build and grow their business. And that's it. And there's a variety of ways I do it, whether it's through the books or through coaching and things like that. When we have hair shows again, I will be there. Until then, you'll find me in places like this. You'll hear me and see me in things like this on the internet.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.